Here we are back for episode 3 of this series. Peter, of course, as always, thank you for joining me. In the
Welcome.
last video, we talked about the different custody options. We talked about exchange Bitcoin, paper Bitcoin versus self-custody Bitcoin, the three options there. In this video, let's talk about the Bitcoin Advisor, the company. We talked about the technical trade-offs of the different technical ways to store Bitcoin in the last video. In this video, we're going to talk about the companies themselves. So less so from a technical perspective, but more so from all the companies providing multi-sig services in the world. What is it that the Bitcoin Advisor does differently, and what are the different trade-offs with, let's say Bitcoin Advisor versus Unchained, Swan, Casa, they all the other companies out there building on top of the fundamental tech.
That's a very good question. And I think it comes down to the most important thing I think that I've experienced over the last 8 years in this space, helping clients with self custody, and that is removing a single point of failure. So the multi sig providers, I think, offer a wonderful service and they're outstanding pieces of infrastructure for the Bitcoin community and offer enormous value. Thinking of, Nunchuck, Unchained, Casa, Swan, unbelievable products and service offerings. The problem though I have or have experienced with my clients is that it still doesn't remove the single point of failure in that they the multi-sig provider is still a single point of failure for clients who aren't technically savvy, and they don't remove themselves as a single point of failure because typically in a 2 of 3 multi-sig solution, the client holds 2 of the 3 keys. So there is a genuine problem that if something happens to the client, they're not able to, or their family, their estate, their children are not able to recover the Bitcoin that they've managed to self custody. And this is as a licensed financial services company in Australia. I understand the role of, the responsibility of being and having a fiduciary duty to clients to ensure that you are doing everything in their best interests. And this is where, in good conscience, I couldn't refer clients to multi-sig providers and let them take full control of that Bitcoin. Well, they've got full control over it, but having 2 of the 3 keys where they are completely responsible and they're in a lifeboat in a vast ocean of knowledge and FUD when it comes to Bitcoin with no support, I think, or no redundancies, more importantly, did not sit well with me and my fiduciary responsibility to my clients. So understanding that my primary concern is the recovery of my clients' Bitcoins over the 8 years and the fact that we haven't lost a single Bitcoin, applying that methodology to the service offering that the Bitcoin Advisor delivers has built on and only extrapolated out that service offering to ensure that clients will not lose or have a single point of failure. So that will mean no loss of Bitcoin. And that is fundamentally the service that we're offering here.
Yep, I think that's a great point, Peter. I've not told you this, but I'll tell you this now. This is useful, anecdotal to what you're saying. So I do a lot of calls with people, for Bitcoin Advisor every day. A lot are clients, a lot are prospects considering or eventually becoming clients. So we're recording this, this evening. Right before this call, this recording here, I had 2 calls with 2 different people. One of which was a middle-aged guy, has a girlfriend, family, all that. The other one was an older gentleman, and one of them did not understand that reality of what you just described. That they have 2 keys, and this multi-sig provider, I won't name the company, but they had this third key, and that's a good setup. But like Peter, what you just described is that he didn't realize, oh wait, I have both those keys stored together, so there's no technical benefit. So yes, I'm paying them, I'm paying this company, but the real value I want is that single point of failure peace of mind. And he realized over the course of that call, wait, I don't have that peace of mind. I've because both my keys are well, then what do I do? I hide that other key. I pick that second best one. So, that's just the trade-off there. Or then the other one, the other guy I mentioned, he's looking to save for his retirement. And, this dynamic of only having one key, stored with one of these key agents, it's the same dynamic there. So what you're saying is really important. And I think ultimately that's what people don't realize is the differentiator in my view, from the Bitcoin advisor versus these other companies, right? The way I'd put it, Peter, and maybe you put it a different way, is that the Bitcoin advisor is primarily service based, and these other companies are primarily product based, right? And not there's
Yes.
anything wrong with the products, but it's just two very different things. So if you could expand on that, I think that'd be useful.
Yeah. I think that is a very elegant way of putting it because, and I just want to make sure that I'm not being in any way derogatory to the product providers and service providers in this space, just highlighting what I see as one of the problems. And yeah, I want to ensure that everyone understands that I'm eternally grateful for the service offerings that they deliver because without that, we can't build a business, using their services. And we can't deliver an upgrade to what's already there. And this is where I think a lot of people misunderstand and think that we are in competition with the multi-sig providers like Unchained and Nunchuck and Casa and Swan. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I actually see this as a symbiotic relationship that enables us to work with all of the multi-sig providers' clients to improve their security upgrade, improve their peace of mind, but most importantly, to put a face to the recovery of their Bitcoin and have a network of advisors spanning the globe that can help in the recovery of that client's Bitcoin. And this is where you've experienced this, and I can say it from an experience perspective as well, that when we get to sit down with our clients and we go through the initial setup and the rest of it, they understand, and there's a huge relief well, it's an influx of peace of mind knowing that they don't have this problem anymore, that if they die, they're going to lose their Bitcoin and their family's going to miss out, which is a huge stress relief. But one of the most enjoyable parts for me about this process is when we get to talk to the client's partners and actually run them through the process. So at the same time, not only can the client see that we can deliver on the promise that we said that there's no single point of failure, but the client's partner can actually experience this and then understand that we're not just magic internet friends that don't exist. We actually have real lives. We exist in the real world. We have families and friends, and we deliver a service that enables the client to have complete peace of mind, complete self-sovereignty, and at the same time build in redundancies that they never knew they needed, because we've been staring at this problem for the last 8 years. And this is where I think, back to one of the conversations earlier, collaborative custody is going to play a huge part moving forward in onboarding, the rest of the population to Bitcoin. And this is where, if maybe 0.1% of the population is in self-custody at the moment, collaborative custody has the ability to turbocharge the onboarding into the multi-sig providers and self-custody as a whole across the broader population.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a very different model, right? And even I had, back when you reached out to me almost a year ago now, from a time of recording, maybe even longer for the people watching this. But yeah, that's something I had trouble differentiating at first too. But as soon as I saw that, and I think I'm pretty fortunate I saw it pretty quickly, I realized that this is ideal for people working at the Bitcoin advisor. It's one of the reasons I joined here, but also for the people watching, for the clients and prospects, I think another critical component to keep in mind is that if we really subscribe to this idea that deflation is continuing forever and that we have more and more innovation, more and more products into the future exponentially over time, then in my view, there is going to be a greater and greater and greater number of these products brought to the market, which is a good thing, right? But the one thing that is actually scarce, the one thing that is actually valuable in the light of all these infinite products or increasingly infinite products, the one thing that is the most valuable in the face of that is the service, the handholding, the time, the person, the connection and relationship to walk people through which product do you choose. I think that's so looking forward, Peter, like what's the value in that clients are going to receive, and having that service looking forward, what's the value that service is going to have in face of all these more and more ample products?
I think it is across a number of different specters that the service continues to deliver value for clients. Obviously, there's the initial one that it solves an immediate concern of ensuring good custody of those coins will pass to whoever's needed. the second thing is, and this is probably one of the greater value adds that's such an intangible, it's very difficult to quantify, but it's one of the most valuable parts of what we do, is developing relationships with family members that most Bitcoiners out there struggle with being in a very lonely place because to be in Bitcoin this early, you need to be a little different, so to say. And it can be a very lonely place trying to share those thoughts and concepts that we all want to talk about with our partners who don't share our enthusiasm for Bitcoin. And this is where, for family members, being able to talk to a service provider in the space adds significant value because there's some validation to the partner that their Bitcoining partner is not crazy. They actually are ahead of the curve. And most importantly, it's an avenue for them to bond and deepen their relationship. While at the same time, and I think this is the real intangible that we deliver, is it now gives the clients an implicit, if not explicit, approval to invest more money in Bitcoin because we've now taken away that responsibility from the partner to recover the Bitcoin. And the partner doesn't need to think about remembering 24 seed words and, oh, these words are really important. Do I put them on the internet to ask people what they mean, or goodness knows what they could come up with. But this is where I think those two things are probably the key components of an intangible service that we deliver. And this is where my experience working with clients in the last 8 years has been, once we start working with a client, we get them into a Bitcoin position, that only increases over time. And that is a fabulous thing to do, that a lot of people are concerned that they wonder, well, why are you charging a fee for something that's free at the multi-sig providers? And we charge a fee for what we do because we deliver a whole lot more. And most importantly, we help you get more Satoshis or more Bitcoin. And that is really the benchmark that we're playing with. And we find that our clients value the fact that working with us, despite having to pay a fee in Bitcoin, they can end up with more Bitcoin. And it's quite a paradox because getting your head around that thought process is very difficult. But it's one thing I'm very proud to say that there's only been one instance that we haven't been able to get a client more Bitcoin. And I share this story jokingly that the client came to me and said, "Look, I'd love to get more Bitcoin." I said, "Great, let me have at it, and we'll have a chat with the family." And they said, "Oh, just one problem though. My wife said she's going to divorce me if we buy any more Bitcoin." I said, "Look, why don't we, lose the battle, win the war, and we'll keep your Bitcoin where it is." So, on a serious note, if you want to increase your stack and you want to ensure that it's protected and recoverable, then collaborative custody is the best format to do that. And we've had great success in helping build people's stack of Bitcoin because we provide the confidence that you're not going to lose it. And then with that comes support from the family that they're not responsible for it. They love the upside that Bitcoin brings, but they don't want the responsibility of having to recover it if they're grieving for your loss. So that's an intangible that really can't be measured, and it really is a very personal thing as to how valuable that is to people.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. I think this has been a really good summary of what makes the Bitcoin advisor different, in our collateral custody, different than other companies with multi-sig. Essentially it comes down to that first principles that we're service-based, we're not product-based. And the intangibles and second order effects of that service base is that there is not a zero sum. There's a growth mindset. Despite the fee, people can stack more. People have the peace of mind. And ultimately, Bitcoin volatility is this much risk to people's portfolios, and this much risk is custody, right? And so by eliminating that risk, now the ultimate risk in that position, both for the client and then the client's extended family, second order, in my view, goes down dramatically. And so to me, when I came to understand Bitcoin Advisor, that was a very compelling component to me, was that, wow, this is service-based, and service-based is built brick by brick, just like a building, just like Bitcoin, block by block proof of work. Service-based is by years of experience. And in a world of increasing the more Bitcoin products, where there's more and more competition exponentially forever, the thing that is going to retain its value, both for us on the business side as well as for clients on the customer side, is going to be that service-based model. So yeah, I think this has been a good discussion, Peter. Yeah, in the next video, We're going to be talking about estate planning, get into the nitty gritty of what that means and what happens, as what Peter was saying, when, if and when families are going to be receiving that Bitcoin. We'll get into what that process looks like in the next video. So thanks, Peter.
Thank you.